All right, Marcy has been holding on in San Diego through the break, and Marcy, we're talking about the death of Suzanne Summers a couple months ago from a long, courageous battle with breast cancer. Take it away.
He put out a whole series of books on health and all these things that you could do for yourself, and they were pretty expensive, a lot of it, and high tech. And she said, my nutrients and estrogen, all these things I take are measured to my blood. They're all special for my blood. And so I got down my book that she wrote, and I turned to the breast cancer part, and it said, I did a long time ago. I used to have breast cancer, but the doctors told me not to take any more estrogen. They didn't want me to, but I ignored that because I know better. Young girls are full of estrogen, and it's not going to hurt an older woman. See, I know a lot about this because I lost my ovaries when I haven't had any female organs since I was 30 due to tumors. So they put me on an estrogen shot once a month, and at 65 they said, oh, no more shots. We're finding out that brings on breast cancer in older women. So she ignored that, and but I was just flabbergasted because she had so much knowledge. Oh my God, she was like a doctor, and then to ignore a basic thing like that, to do what the doctor says, and Farrah Fawcett, they told her she would have to take chemo for this cancer of the rectum, and she said, oh no, that'd make my hair fall out. No. So then it got worse. So then she had cancer of the colon. They wanted her to have to wear a bag on the outside of the body where your excrement. And she said, no, that is gross. You wouldn't let them do that. So then she died. And then Lisa Marie, she had the gastric bypass to lose weight. They told her, when you get home, do not take any drugs except for what we provide for your recovery on your stomach. She went straight home and did her recreational drugs, and she died right away. And it's just such a basic thing, just to do what the doctor says. And then about the Bible prediction, I asked my lady friend, I said, people are always saying that these Bible predictions have come true. But I said, I don't study the Bible like you do, and I'd be interested for you to tell me in plain English, not old-timey stuff, what are some of these predictions that came true? She said, well, one of them would be that homosexual will be a common thing, no prejudice and completely accepted, and that in the end times, evil will rule. So I finished watching a whole hour program about gay people. In the 1950s, if two men were walking down the street holding hands, they could be arrested. And if they went to a gay bar, a van would pull up and the cops would come out. They'd all be put on the paddy wagon and they'd all be locked up. And then one of the predictions was in the end times, evil will rule. Well, it's ruling in Russia, apparently. And look what's just been done to Israel. And in my opinion, it's ruling here because does it make any sense to take out our big oil pipes when before we had excess oil, we were selling to other countries making money, and now we have to beg these other countries to sell us theirs, and they've got us over a barrel. They can charge anything they want.
Right. Okay, I appreciate the call, Marcy. I mean, we're kind of going off madly in all directions, which is fine, but I do want to get to some other callers, but thank you. I guess to sum up, follow the doctor's orders. Well, there is such a thing as informed consent, and people are allowed to make their own choices, and we have to respect those choices. Suzanne Summers did fight cancer for an awfully long time. She was doing something right, I would suspect. Because basically she was written off a number of times from what I understand, and she came back. So let's say hi next to Michael is in Sedona, Arizona. Michael, welcome to Coast.
Hello. Aloha.
Hi there. Hi, aloha. I can.
Good to hear. This is my first time on, and I'm pretty amazed to be here. I'm happy.
We're glad to have you.
I'm a veteran. I have an interesting story to share with the world.
All right.
I guess I could start with my declared witness testimony, too, on this. Well, I served in the Navy as a hospital corpsman, and then I was transferred to the Marine Corps, 8404. When I was in medical school, I was ordered to spit in a tube for a DNA test. And when I was active duty working in the hospital, so I really didn't have time to focus too much on it. But when I saw it, I just kind of crumpled them up. It was just like, like it was a bad test or someone else's DNA. And I kind of just like forgot about it. But then when I got off active duty and in the reserves, then out of the reserves, I decided to take a 23andMe test. And when I did this, it shocked the family. My results were the same as the Navy, and it starts out like 4% Neanderthal, and that's the highest in the world. And there's other people that are 4% Neanderthal, and out of like 900 variants of Neanderthal, I'm 310 variants. And then I'm 22% Jewish, which stunned my family. My mom, through my mom's mom, they thought they were Portuguese from the Azores Islands, and there's a synagogue on the Azores Islands, so it's possible like 3 different centuries. The Jewish people are escaping, Europe, Portugal. But then the most interesting part is I got a case number from 23andMe, number 3116585. But my undetermined non-human DNA.
Say what? Hang on. Non-human DNA.
Yeah. They like the DNA tests when they first came out. They said this junk DNA, and it's usually the smallest amount. Like over the past 5 years, I've been reaching out, putting my DNA out there, and getting people's interest. And so I get people to tell me what their DNA is, and the one, like normal humans are like 1 to 2%, all the way down to like 0.0001% of this non-human undetermined DNA. And I found others up to 19% of this undetermined non-human DNA. And I sent my information, all my DNA data, to Oxford professor Dr. Young Hei Chi, and to Brian Forster. He handles DNA like in the Practice skulls and Inca and Peru. And
I'm familiar with Brian's work. So what are you saying, Michael? You've got, what are you suggesting? You're part alien?
Yeah, well, I got 74%.
74% alien.
Yeah, that's super high. Like I found others with 19%. Everything's on my Facebook and all my social media platforms, like Facebook's Aloha Sedona.
All right. Well, people can check that out and decide for themselves. Michael is 74% alien. All right. Let's say hi to Sue is in North Carolina. Hey, Sue, welcome.
Hi, Richard. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Sue.
You're
How are
one
you?
of my favorites.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I had a question for you.
Okay.
You haven't spoken about your son's ducks lately. I was wondering, how are the ducks doing?
They're doing great. They are big ducks. They're Pekin ducks. Which are they're primarily, I guess, raised for food, but they're wonderful pets, and they're out in the backyard now. My son built an enclosure out there for them, and we have a chicken coop sort of inside the enclosure to keep the. We've got coyotes around, we've got foxes, we've got raccoons, so they wander around the backyard while my son is at school, and then he comes and feeds them after school and puts them back in their pen before sundown. That's when the predators come out. But they are very entertaining, I tell you. They're just clowns. They're amazing creatures. I mean, chickens will give you eggs and so forth, and I wouldn't mind owning chickens at some point. but they're just not, to me, they're not nearly as interesting as ducks. They're just so comical. And I tell you, it warms my heart to see my son go out there in the backyard and they just run to him because they imprinted on him. And when the weather was a little warmer and a little drier, he would get down on the grass, lie down on the grass, and they would climb up on him and fall asleep on his chest. And it just warms my heart to see that. He's so happy to be around those ducks. Best decision we ever made. Thank you, Sue. That's the update on the ducks. Let's see. John is in Newfoundland on the international line. John, welcome to Coast. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Richard. Thank you. It's great to talk to you. And by the way, you have a great radio voice.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So what I want to talk to you, I just started on a light note there because what I want to talk to you about is extremely serious, extremely heavy. So that's the other side of the coin. For a couple of years now, I've been contacting various North American law enforcement and mainstream news media regarding what I suspect are some serious hacks and crashes of various vehicles being done by someone who I know very well. And when I say vehicles, I mean aircraft and surfaced vehicles, including cars, buses, and trains. And based on what I know of this person, he's a numerology enthusiast. And based on each of the crashes that I suspect he's responsible for, which is at least over a dozen in the last few years, the latest one, I believe, was the Niagara Falls car crash and explosion of November 22nd, so a few days ago now. Again, there are numbers pointing to him, circumstantial evidence. For example, he will often use numbers that he knows that I know he considers significant, either his birthday or my birthday. Or numbers like that, and with that one, the same thing comes up again. And I'm not just pulling these numbers out of the air. For example, like the number 12 is significant because I was born on the 12th of a particular month, and the 12th came up again for that crash of a few days ago because in the middle of 11:22 is a 12, and then also it happened at 11:20 a.m., which is a 12 right in the middle of that time. And I'm not just pulling these out of the air because I have examples from months ago that I posted on some of my YouTube videos showing these same numbers coming up in previous crashes. And so just before I want to put that out so people can confirm that for themselves. If I have a non-profit series of videos, if they go to YouTube and they enter in the search bar, I suspect my IT Pro Bro. IT is capital I, capital T. Everything else can be lowercase. So I'll say it again. I suspect my IT Pro Bro, especially part 1, part 2, and part 34.
Okay, let me just back up here for a second because, I mean, the idea of hacking into a car, that is a concern, particularly now that, all the computer chips and the components, they're all computers now in cars. But the thing with this particular car crash at the Rainbow Bridge, this was, from what I understand, an older vehicle. It was a Bentley. Now, I don't know how old, but I read, I think, somewhere that it was an older vehicle. So I don't know to what extent you can hack, an older vehicle. The second thing is apparently the couple involved in this crash, the married couple, 53 years old, they had been complaining to a friend for about a week about a sticky gas pedal. So, I don't know what to tell you other than the most prosaic explanation is, in this case, probably the most likely. Anyway, thank you so much for the call. Let's see. Do we have time for another one before the break? I think so. Yeah, we're going to say hi to Kathy is in Eugene, Oregon. Kathy, welcome to Coast.
Yeah, AI could help us organize a new stock market. I'm talking about STALK, which is the leftover stalks of industrial hemp for fireproof housing that's also mold-proof, and it's rodent and termite-proof. And all you do is mix up the herds of hemp with lime and water. we could take worldwide surveys of those wanting to transition to the hemp trades and hook up with the new hemp blocks that are being made in Vancouver, Washington by Earth Merchant and Just Biofiber in Canada. And Kentucky is making the hemp wood. Idaho is making the hemp insulation. So within minutes, AI could use the bioregional names of networks listing possible workers and funding sources. Now, I started the Community Skills Bank in Southern Oregon back in 1975, and it lasted 8.5 years, but it started 12 other organizations and helped kickstart the whole Southern Oregon back to the land counterculture movement. But this fireproof housing can last for centuries, and they've been building for 35 years in 35 nations industrial hemp like hempcrete, but now we have the hemp blocks. Well, the United States Hemp Building Association, USHBA.org, has a list of hemp houses in the United States, and they donated 400 professional hours to get it legalized in September 2022. And Jean Lotus, just like the flower on Facebook, she published the second international directory of 400 hemp products, many in the United States. And Steve Allen has the 50 international case studies, including a hospital in Africa and a 13,000-foot elevation Tibetan shrine and a multi-story building in Italy that withstood the earthquake last decade.
Okay, industrial hemp. I get it. Yeah, you got your spiel in for industrial hemp. Listen, I'm a big fan of industrial hemp. We could be making clothing and paper and all of those things. Now, my understanding up here in Canada, industrial hemp, I think you still have to have a special license. They're still hung up on, it looks too much like marijuana. Anyway, yeah, definitely a fan of industrial hemp. All right, taking us into the break, Cyndi Lauper, and all through the night. Back to more of your calls right after this time out on Coast to Coast AM. All right, we are into the home stretch. Open lines on the wild card line. Anthony's in Denver, Colorado. Good morning, Anthony. Welcome to Coast.
Hey, Richard. How you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Okay, so I found a treasure. I was looking online. I was talking to the chat bot, the AI.
Yes.
It's kind of like a two-part thing I'm just trying to talk to you about. I was talking to it and getting into this, that, and the other thing, and I was asking it, hey, what's a good dessert? And it, astonished me. I found the treasure. He told me to look up this website, and they have all these desserts on there. It's called www.rockymountainfreezedry.com.
Okay.
It's like a space-age type deal. It's like, I don't know how they do it. They put it in this machine and they blow up this candy. It's like crazy. Have you heard of this before?
I have not. I'm not a connoisseur of candy. Now, if we're talking ice cream, then we'd have something to talk about. But no, not. So you discovered a website about candy using a chatbot. All right, you sort of combined two topics in one. Thank you for that, Anthony. Let's see. Bob is in Los Angeles. Bob, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, my subject is about mind control and how we're no match for it. I'm speaking specifically of the media, how they manipulate us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you see a lot of these shows with SWAT teams or FBI types with guns and people in the military. People don't think that the U.S. military is writing these shows for television and that they literally are recruiting with these shows to get people to join their services. People don't like to think that their military is commandeering their media in this way, but they are.
Well, there's a long history of the military's involvement in Hollywood. Yes, we know that. All right. I guess that's the point he wanted to make. Thank you for that, Bob. Let's say hi to Mike is in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. He wants to talk JFK. Hey, Mike, welcome.
Hi, Richard. I want to point out that the three major players in the assassination of President Kennedy all made incriminating remarks, which is something nobody in the major mass media reports every November 22nd, referring to Lyndon Johnson, Carlos Marcello, and Santos Trafficante. Do we want to know what they said?
Sure.
All right. Excuse me. This is all but documented. Johnson, the night before Kennedy was killed, told his mistress, quote, "You won't have to worry about that goddamn Kennedy after tomorrow." And
yeah, that's a well-known one. That's Madeline Duncan Brown supposedly said that. That is based on her claim. We've heard that many, many times. Whether he said it or not, we don't know. Yep, Carlos, what did he say?
He admitted to killing him, and he said, quote, "My only regret was I didn't do it myself." If you do your research, you'll find that.
Yeah, I think I've come across that before. Well, yeah, he may have been involved, I suppose. Yeah.
May have? Are you kidding? He was the one who was kidnapped and deported because of Bobby, who had him dumped in a jungle in Guatemala. Did you know that?
Well, I'm familiar with the organized crime theory. I had James DiEugenio on the other night. He kind of discounts that. Depending on who you talk to, it's a possibility. I'm saying. I mean, maybe he was the guy on the Dell Tech building. Who knows? Okay, and there's Trafficante. Go ahead.
Trafficante said we should have gone after Bobby instead of Gianni. I mean,
I think I mentioned that actually. I know. I think I mentioned that in the opening of the show when I was talking about. It was 4 days before Kennedy was in Dallas. He was in Tampa Bay. Trafficante was from Tampa. I think I may have even mentioned that quote. I'm not sure. Something like that. Yeah, I mean, there's two schools. One who believed that the CIA used organized crime. They were involved. But if you speak to James DiEugenio, he doesn't, for whatever reason, he doesn't believe that that organized crime had a significant role or any role really in the assassination, but who knows? But thank you for that, Bob. I'm sorry, Mike. That was Mike in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. All right. Speaking of JFK, Mark is in Dallas, Texas. Mark, good morning. Welcome to Coast. Oh, we lost Mark. That's too bad. James in Newport News, Virginia. James, welcome. Hi there.
Thank you. I've called George a few times about my book. Is it okay if I say the name? He always lets me say the name of the book on the air. Is that okay?
Sure. Go ahead.
It's called Blessed with an Angel and a Rainbow, and it tells you to build your armor of God because that's what we're all going to need. That's what Ephesians 6 says. In these times, we're going to need to build up our all our armor of God. And to protect ourselves, because this is biblical stuff we're going through. This is spiritual stuff we're going through, not just man. This is just, and in the book, it's updated it. We recently had the eclipse through America, August 21, 2017. That went only through the United States, no other continent. And it only happened once before like that, was 1776. Usually that means judgment. An eclipse from the Lord like that, and just about a month later, in 2 days, Revelation 12 came true. Revelation 12 is a celestial event, the woman, the child, and the dragon. It says, "Now look to the heavens," and it starts out about the woman, the child, and the dragon. So I don't know if you've seen that on. You can go to YouTube and you can see all the. They have the soft.
Hang on. What is when you say the woman, the child, and the dragon? What are you talking about? What is it?
Yeah, Revelation 12 is. Has come true on September 23rd, 2017. It starts out, now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, and her head a garland of 12 stars. On her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. Now what that is a celestial event. It's science. It's not astrology. It's astronomy. And anybody that has the software can see that on the internet. They show there's tons of it on the internet, on YouTube, showing you the woman is Virgo. The garland of 12 stars is 9 stars and 3 planets over her head. The sun is at her shoulder. She's clothed with the sun, so it's right above her shoulder, and the moon's at her feet. And the dragon is there's a snake dragon right under her feet, and Jupiter goes into her lower abdomen. womb area for approximately 9.5 months, right around the normal time of a birth. And when it comes out, that's symbolic of Jesus' birth, apparently with the planet Jupiter. So that is where it says that there was a great war in heaven in that part, and 1/3 of the stars were thrown down to the earth with Satan because they were his followers, tried to overtake heaven. And the stars are angels, so they were his angels. But my understanding is from all the ministers they were talking to on the internet, they say they're disembodied demons. But whatever they are, they follow Satan. And that happened September 23rd, 2017. And how many is that, we wonder? Well, if you go to Revelation 5, John saw around the throne room over 100 million angels up there. So if you got 10,000 times 10,000 angels he saw up there, and thousands of thousands. So if you had over 100 million, about 33 million angels, if it was might not have been the same pool of angels, could have been more or less, than what was in Revelation 5. But if it was 33 million angels descending that are followers of Satan, along with Satan coming down, and it says right in Revelation 12, it warns us, therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. So he has a short time. Now, whether that's the rapture or that's when Jesus comes back and actually comes back the second coming for Armageddon, but regardless, that's happened, and that's a factual thing. And they don't tell you that. Not too many ministers are telling things. There's a lot of corrupt churches, and a lot of ministers have been put in there, I guess.
So hang on, let me just back up. 33 million fallen angels. 33 million. That's quite an army.
We don't know how many for sure, but in Revelation 5. John's up around the throne room, and he says he sees 10,000 times 10,000s and thousands of angels, and there's only 24 elders and 4 beasts, so that's over 100 million angels. Now, we don't know in Revelation 12, that's a different time, so we don't know how many angels God had up there at that time that tried to overtake heaven, but 1/3 of them tried to overtake heaven and were cast down. So 1/3 if it was anywhere near
33 million. That is quite an army. James, thank you for that. Yikes, quite an army. Okay, let's see. Carrie's in New York. Welcome, Carrie. Good morning. Oh, we lost Carrie. Okay. Do we have Michael in Boston, east of the Rockies? Michael, are you there?
Yes. Hello, Richard, the strange planet man.
Hey, Michael. Good to talk to you.
How you doing? Just real quick, we were talking earlier about the cars with the people hacking into them. Well, up here, I live up in the cold Northeast, up in Boston. It's about 25 up here today. But they all kinds of advertisements and thing comes in the mail. They want everyone to get a smart thermostat and get this heat pump. And I think the thing behind it is, eventually, if you have this smart thermostat and you turn your heat up in your house, the government's going to want to be able to control that. Now, I'm conservative with the heat. I try to be frugal and stuff, but say you have an older person come over your house or something and you want to turn up the heat. Well, they can turn around and listen to that on a computer and say, well, this guy got his thermostat cranked up the heat high. They're going to want to be able to regulate that, how warm you keep your house and stuff. They want to tell you what kind of washing machine you can have and all these different things. It's just in my opinion, it's a movement to be able to control the people use of the energy. Now,
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, Michael. I have the same concerns regarding those smart thermostats. They will decide. Especially with all of these renewables coming online, and I think the grid, particularly in the Northeast, has been severely compromised. They're running out of gasoline in New England. Trying to switch over to heat pumps. I don't think heat pumps are ideal for cold climates like Boston and up here in Canada. I know that's the push, electricity, but electric heat pumps. I am just concerned about the strain on what is already a compromised power grid. And I agree with you. I think we're going to have rolling blackouts in many parts of the country if we continue down this path. And smart thermostats, that's going to give somebody the power, like the kill switch. They're talking about a new automobile starting in, is it 2026? It's basically, it's a kill switch for your power in your house. I agree with you. That is a concern. All right, let's see. Do we have Richard in San Diego? Is that Richard?
Richard?
Hey, Richard, welcome to Coast.
Yeah, you had a caller talking about how the media manipulates us. And I wanted to point out, it doesn't happen lately, but for decades in the past, if something was happening behind the public's back, the government would use these major magazines' bold print headlines to document things. For example, you can find that the man getting John Lennon's autograph.
Did we lose? Oh, we lost Richard. Not sure what happened there. All right. The use of bold print for subliminal emphasis. Well, it's not subliminal if it's bold. They're saying, hey, look at this. That's not what I would call subliminal messaging. I mean, that exists. Advertisers use it, no question. Let's see. We don't have Carrie in New York. Is that correct? Oh, we do have Carrie in New York. Okay, there she is. Carrie, welcome to Coast.
Hi.
Good morning. Hi there.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I'm enjoying your show today.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm calling because I share the concerns of a lot of the other callers about AI, and one of my main concerns is this technology of where they're connecting people's brains to like brain-computer interfaces.
The Neuralink, Elon Musk, yeah.
Well, that's one example, but there are others. And also, even more specifically, where they want to connect people's brains so that they can communicate with each other, like thought reading, mind reading, or synthetic telepathy is another name they use for it. And that's a real concern because I know that's already exists. You know, there's much information online about that. I know a lot of universities are doing research on this, and my concern also is that it's being done without people's consent. You know, their knowledge or consent. They're reading people's brain waves to tap into their thoughts. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, how do you suppose they would do that? Do you have any idea what the technology? I mean, I receive emails probably once a month from people who believe that they are victims of electronic torture and mind control. That they are what they call targeted individuals. They talk about how their thoughts are being read. What do you suppose the technology is behind that? Any idea?
Well, it's all over the internet. I mean, there are many videos on it and articles. I mean, you even go to the university websites and they talk about like the experimentation they're doing. I mean, it's all out there. It's not just like conspiracy theory. They themselves are like very glad to share that, you know, with the public that they're working on this. But I mean, one of the ways that they achieve it is by this different I forget what they are, different tech equipment that they can use just to read brain waves, and that's just the beginning to get an idea of like what people are thinking.
Right. Well, I know voice-to-skull technology has been around for probably 50 years. I've seen the patent for it, I think, early 1970s. So voice-to-skull technology is certainly with us. And, I mean, who knows how that has been advanced in the last half century. I shudder to think. But I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they're either working on it or are able to basically translate brain waves into thoughts. I don't know exactly what would be involved, but somebody at MIT, I'm sure, is working on it.
Yeah, they can translate it to text. You know, it's supposed to be like a future wave that people can communicate even across the continents. You don't need to be, you know, because it would be, you know, by computer, like internet, basically. But it's just overall brain to computer interface, you know, like connecting human beings to computers. So it's like the transhumanistic.
Oh, I was not made for this time. I fear, Carrie. Thank you for your call. Thank you all for your calls. That's a song by Brian Wilson, I think. I just wasn't made for this time. Again, leave me with my vinyl records and my old transistor radio. For George Norrie, George Knapp, Lisa Lyon, Stephanie Smith, Tom Danheiser, Donna Walker, Dan Galanti, Chris Burrows, and Jeremy Wells. Welcome, Jeremy. I'm Richard Syrett. Thank you for your ears and your voices, your beautiful voices. Until tonight, so long for now.